So, starting off, it does feel amazing to talk to a legend of horror. You have been in so many iconic films, but I've always wanted to know, where did that love start? Did you like horror movies before starting horror movies, or did that kind of come together as the 80s happened?
I don't think that I necessarily had a love for horror like a lot of people I talk to do. When I first started out working in films and television, I had a love of acting,
Mhm.
and I just, I didn't really differentiate between all the genres. I just wanted to tell stories that were compelling. But I will say that growing up, one of my favorite shows when I was 11 was Dark Shadows.
I hear that
I
so often.
I lived for that show. That show started at 3 o'clock every day in New York, and my school got out at 2:50, and I would race home on my bicycle to watch Dark Shadows every day. And I would have nightmares and I would be scared. And my mother would say, "Please don't watch this show." And I would say, "I have to. I can't help myself." And I also grew up watching The Twilight Zone and Night Gallery and The
Mhm.
Outer Limits. So I think I had a love for horror, but I just I just didn't think, "Oh my god, I love horror or sci-fi." I just loved those particular shows and those stories, and then when I started working in horror, I developed more of a love for it. You
Mhm.
know what I mean?
Yes.
So, and I don't even know if Stuart Gordon had a love for horror when he was, when he made Reanimator. I
Yeah.
think a lot of filmmakers start in horror
Mhm.
because there are more horror movies made than any other
Absolutely.
type of film. And then some people kind of stick with it. Um, you know, Stewart was did Peter Pan, in a at the Organic Theater Company as a play,
Wow.
and so I don't even think he knew who Lovecraft was when he and Brian Usna teamed up to 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 compile the stories of Herbert West's Reanimator into one film. I think it just sort of happened. So I feel like it just sort of happened to me, EJ. I don't know now. Of course, I have a love for horror. It's my home. And I feel like I've, you know, I know more than I did when I first began. Um, and I definitely think that when I came back after taking a break with Your Next, and that movie did so well
An
th-
amazing film. Oh.
that I said, "Oh, this is where I belong. This is my home. This is what I do." I can do other things, and I have had other roles in other genres, but this is where I belong, and this is my home, and I developed so many deep friendships with so many people that work in the horror genre that, I guess now I do love it more than any other genre, but it's taken me a lifetime to realize that.
I mean, you even faced a slasher in your days, your time on Days of Our Lives with the Salem slasher and all that. So you've always been
Oh, I guess so.
entrenched.
Yeah, I
Like,
guess I
even if
have
that's not
been.
directly horror, it's
Yeah.
always been
Mhm.
near you. Have you learned anything about yourself working on these horror movies? Have you found yourself having fears you never thought, or finding yourself to be
Mm.
stronger than you thought you were because of
Mhm.
facing these monsters in these movies?
Yeah, that's a really nice question. Thank you. I think it's cathartic working in horror. I really do. It's it both allows for great empathy,
Hmm.
stories about horrible things that happen to others, and also gives you a chance to have a catharsis. And I feel like mentally, I'm more stable as a person working in horror movies because I've gone through the gauntlet.
Yeah.
There's so many things that I've gone through, and I think that's why horror is so attractive to viewers because you see other people going through horrible happenings and coming out of it. You know,
Especially
mostly there's
women in this
somebody,
genre as well.
yes, mostly there's somebody who's going to survive, and most people are going to identify with the survivor. So I think that, and this is not something that other people haven't said, I'm not inventing this, but I think that, you know, it's true that horror prepares you for fear, to face fearful situations, and prepares you for death, and
Mhm.
prepares you for horrible things that happen. So I do think that it just gives you, in a weird sense, a sense of stability, that
Yes.
you can overcome things.
Now, switching to your role in Sacrifice, I
Mhm,
found it so interesting because there you have your usual warmth quality you have in your films, but you're also a little cold and scary at times. What did it
mhm,
feel playing such a different character than what I usually think of the Barbara Crampton role? Like, this is so different for you. So,
mhm.
how did it feel getting to play this kind of devilish role?
Yeah, it was fun, and really, there's been a few roles recently where I've gotten to play a more compromised
Mm,
person, and this was one of them. And yeah, it's, you know, I feel like I use that warmth part of myself a lot in roles, and definitely wanted to use that in this particular role to entreat this couple who come to the island to feel like they're safe and to stay, because I need them there,
mhm.
you know, without giving anything away. I'm the head of a cult, and I don't want them to leave. I want them to be there, you know, for what I need from them to happen, uh, a sacrifice
Yes.
for something on the island. And at the same time, you know, we're not seeing the monster.
Mm.
So
Which I loved. I thought that was so interesting.
yeah.
It made that more scary and it made you a monster at
Hmm.
times,
Well,
which you
yeah,
maybe aren't. Your character's so
right.
interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have to keep that tension up
Mhm.
and give the audience pause to say, oh, these people are in danger. So there has to be moments where I have to, you know, showcase for the audience that there really is something to be afraid of here.
Yes.
And also, you know, that was really helped by the two actors that are really the stars of the film, Sophie and Ludovic. I thought they were really brilliant in their roles, and being on the island affects Ludo's character so much, and he also has a transformation. And I
He's a
thought,
frustrating character.
right? And I right? And I, you know, and the fear that Sophie has to, um, identify with in her character was so palpable on the set and working with them both, that it's, you know, the movie is more of a character piece
Mhm.
than anything, and it really works on the strength of the performances, I think, and I thought they were terrific.
Yeah, I thought going in it was going to be a creature feature, and to see it to be such
Mhm,
a character study and with the weird dreams and meeting the
mhm.
cult, it was so interesting. So I'm glad the movie got to surprise me, which is always so
Mm.
lovely.
Mhm, mhm.
Now, I will say you are one of the busiest women in all of horror, but what is next for you? Are you ever going to tackle directing, or do you want to write scripts? Like I want to see
Mhm.
more from you, and what's coming up next for you?
Well, I have a movie premiering at South by Southwest, Jacob's Wife, that, I was developing for about 5 years
Mm,
as a producer and an actor. I've produced a couple of movies before that, so I'm moving more into producing and working with young screenwriters, and, trying to help them realize their dreams and turn their stories into film. So I'm very actively working on, uh, 3 movies that I, hope that will get off the ground, you know, this year or early the following year. So producing is really, um, at the horizon that I can see right now, that I'm gonna be also moving into. As far as directing, it's it interests me,
Mhm.
but I don't think I would want to direct a feature because it's so immersive and takes so much time and would be a year or two of my life just working on one film.
Yeah.
And I feel like my skill set is more of a dabbler. I still want to keep acting, so I don't want to lose that. I want people to just offer me jobs that I could just go and do.
Yes.
If there was a possibility for me to work in television where the infrastructure is already there and it you just you show up on set and everybody has their jobs to do and I don't have to put it all together and make it all happen, perhaps with that support system and that foundation, I would consider that, but it's not something I'm working towards.
Okay.
I really feel like continuing acting and working in roles that I identify with as I get older is something that I look forward to, and also continuing to work as a producer.
Well, you have a great eye for talent. We working with Adam Wingard and finding these filmmakers here. So I love to hear that. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. It was an absolute honor, Miss Crampton. You are a
Thank you,
legend. So thank you
AJ.
so
Thank you.
much.